Good morning, viewers out there. You're welcome to this segment of our program. This is AM Cafe. Today is Wednesday, and this is the last day of the month. And we must appreciate God for bringing us this far. It's not by our power, nor by our might. It pleases God to spare our life to see the end of the month. And we have just 1 month to go in year 2022. And if we start now to start looking at what happened within the year, it's not a misplacement. Year 2022 have been so turbulent when it comes to educational matter. For 8 solid months out of 12, and we don't know what is going to happen in the remaining 1 month. But we can be sure that for 8 solid months, Nigerian students are out of classrooms. And that's at that level. At the polytechnic level, at the colleges of education level, the educational sectors have been rocked with so many crises. And that's where we'll be going today. We want to look at the plight of Nigerians, particularly our youth, as regards their educational pursuits. So we have the very young mind that will be discussing this with us as well in the studio this morning. His name is Oladapo Olasode. He has been a regular face on this program. I am Olasukomi Oyebayo, and I have another young person here, a couple just coming out of the university, and she's going to bear minds on some of the issues, and we're going to provide solution on the way to go. Joy, you're welcome to the program today.
Yeah, good morning, viewers. Thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, I'm Joy Akinola. Thank you for joining us.
So I'm welcoming our guest, Oladapo Olasode, to the studio.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Yeah.
Dapo, let's look at the plight of Nigerians. I have them in my own home. I should not be discussing my home here. Let me just tell you that it has not been easy. It has not been easy. There is a situation for some that ought to have been out of classrooms, out of school completely. But for that 8 months, they are still there. And this is not the first time. In 2020, let's go back into retrospect now. That came the pandemic. In that same year as well, there was this EndSARS crisis. You remember?
Yeah, definitely.
ASU, COVID-19, EndSARS, that kept our children at home. 2022, another round. This is a country where we say children or youth of today are tomorrow's leaders. And hurriedly, they will go back to classrooms and they will say, okay, do this assignment, write this test, and some other things, and they will push them out. And before you say Jack Robinson, leaders out there will say Nigerian graduates are not employable. And when they are looking for employment, they will say, if you are not in this age bracket, you don't apply for this job. Do you understand now? While in school, libraries are not well equipped. Laboratories are second to right home about. These are things that we'll be looking at here. You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts?
Well, you have just elaborated what I will put in one sentence.
What?
There is a need for a state of emergency in the Nigerian educational system.
Need for an emergency?
There's a need for our government to declare what is called a state of emergency. I think when that is done, all attention is given to that sector, because education plays such a vital role, not just in producing today, but in shaping tomorrow.
Not only for producing today, but for shaping
tomorrow. So if you want to look at what the tomorrow of a particular society will be, just look at the education of its youth. Because like you said, the young ones of today are the leaders of tomorrow. And while you were talking about strikes, I remember a joke my elder friend cracked when I just newly gained admission. He said, you're going to be here for 5 plus X years, where X is a positive integer that ranges from 1 to infinity. Meaning, you know when you are resuming.
No, you don't know where you are coming
You
at.
can't tell when you are graduating. And for me, X became about 3 extra years or more. So that's why, to summarize it so that we just say that there's a need for a state of emergency to be declared in the educational sector in Nigeria. There are so many problems. The welfare of the lecturers, all of those things, they're a major issue. They're a major issue. Because if we don't do that, tomorrow is at stake. Tomorrow is at stake.
All right. So practically, you've come up with this sentence for everything that is happening. Quite fine. But I want us to dissect them so that the viewers can have a view. Of course, everybody knows the surface area, what is going on. Oh, there is strike. Oh, students were not in school, they are back now. But there are some things that are still happening that a layman might not be able to know. Now, looking at the fact that they resume, the parents are happy, oh, they have resumed and all of that. But I want us to go to the pressure. There are so many things we're still going to dissect, but taking it from you talking about universities, I want us to take it to the pressure of this students right now in the university. Now, these students that just entered school is even up to 2 months that just resumed back. They have started examination. In fact, some of them have signed out of school, which means that they are done with their 4 years program. So immediately they resumed school, they started exam. And now, when you were talking the other time, you made mention of people saying, oh, we are bringing in unemployable graduates. These are the people that we have around, but these are the people that the society themselves have trained. Now, someone that has been out of school for 8 months, you bring him back to school within 1 month for a new semester, which should take 5 months for the first semester, 3 months or 4 months for the second semester, and within 1 month, they have done teachings, they have done practicals, and they have started examination. And in fact, some of them are finished. You've been seeing them posting here and there, oh, thank God I'm out of school and all of that. I mean, we're happy that you are out of school. But are we sure that these people have been taught anything at all? Now, I want us to base it on the fact that Nigeria is just a certificate-oriented society. We are not knowledge-oriented society, and that is what we need. If we're going to talk about, oh, how education is going to be helpful to the nation, how the future leaders of tomorrow are the youth, they must be knowledgeable. It's not just certificates. And what Nigeria is proving to us is that we're just a certificate-oriented society. Just come out of school, just have the certificate. That's all.
Yeah, true. I think you brought a really serious point. So many people have tried to define education, but the definition of education that I agree with the most was the definition by the great scientist Thomas Edison. He said, education is the training of the mind to think. Absolutely. So if education is done correctly, it's supposed to produce solution providers. It's supposed to produce problem solvers.
Yes.
So the challenge of this fire brigade approach, I mean, guys have been at home for 8 months. Most of them have been focused on other things.
Absolutely.
Most of them will not be adequately motivated to continue the rigor of study they would have had while they're in school. Were they in school?
Okay.
So when you come in, it's just rush work. It's wishy-washy. It's wishy-washy. And like you said, what kind of graduates are we going to produce? Then let's even now go back to, even if there was time, what exactly are we teaching
them in the classroom? Yeah.
Education is supposed to be this training of the mind to think, to raise problem solvers. But we have a challenge in the whole educational sector. We have not revamped our curriculum to prepare people to solve 21st century
problems. So we
are still raising people in the 21st century, training them with materials that were supposed to equip them to solve the 20th or the 19th century problems. So that's why it appears as though they graduate and they are not useful. The problem with this is that the guys they become disillusioned. They are really not interested. And it's not, the situation is not being helped by some of our music artists. I say that because I remember a discussion I had with my younger sister a few years back. And she said, did you observe that most of the songs are about how book the men at their head?
And they later made
And
it.
you understand? It's as though the trending thing is to just take your education. Even right now, people will tell you, during this strike, there were a few guys who didn't go back to school.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were a few guys who just went to learn a trade. I saw a documentary about a guy who went to Ladipo to learn something. And he was in 300 level, lost student.
Lost students.
And he felt,
I don't have anything to do with that place.
he didn't come back. Because it didn't have, he couldn't see a hope. They are turning them out. But when they get to the labor market, they are not useful in the labor market because they were half bred, half baked.
Yeah, half baked. Just
let's look at this. It's like the Yoruba, they talk about Nikatora and Niko. That if you are taught how to do this, can you retrain yourself to fix yourself up? I saw a video of a graduate of a school around us who went back to school. This is your certificate. It's not saying this is my certificate again. That's give me back my money, all the money I spent here. Now, this is somebody who have graduated over 4 years or even more, saying that he couldn't get a job with the certificate that he was offered in school. Now, my question is, have you been able to sit down yourself, to reappraise yourself, thinking outside the box?
Okay. Now, my answer.
Waiting for a white collar job, is it in another today again?
My answer to that
is
this, sir. Your ability to retrain yourself. You remember, I'll go back to my definition. Education is the training of the mind to think. The quality of education you get, even in the process of your education, will determine the capacity of your mind to think. The only place where I would blame, not let me use the word blame, the only place where I would come in and add a difference is that education is not just limited to the four walls of the classroom.
That's what I'm saying.
So the average young man should adopt the average young person should adopt the learner's attitude.
Of course.
So while, okay, I'm not able to learn in this area because I switched on strike, but I am still learning in other areas. You are reading books, you have the internet to do it. There was somebody who taught herself data management online and got a job and didn't go back. She got a tech job. During these 8 months of strike, the lady taught herself data management, got a tech job and didn't go back. So those resources are there. But this is what you have been, this is the marketing. When we were growing, I remember my mom would say, this is your meal ticket.
The quality of the food you put on the table depends now on your ability to use.
Yeah.
The tickets.
My mom would say your education is your meal ticket. We had songs like Batariadun, Ko. So we had an expectation from going to school.
With divine education as a means to an end. Yes. It's not an end on in itself.
No. So our generation was raised with an expectation from education. And the expectation is go through all the rigors of education, graduate and ball for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But we graduated and found out that it had become we became disappointed after graduating because we realized that there's no balling anywhere. So the frustration of that particular guy is coming from the expectation he had from education. And when they were telling us that we were going to ball, they didn't tell us that after we graduated, we still had work to do. So every young man then was going through the rigors of education with the mentality that let me just graduate and get a job. Then he graduates, he can't get that job. If he was told that he's going to school to learn to solve problems, he probably would have approached his education differently. So if we must solve this problem, we need to go back to how we have presented it.
When we are talking about solving problems now, problems are of diverse nature, personal, societal.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's my thinking.
So we need to go back, but to correct this thing and have it, we need to go back to what we tell people about education. A generation was taught that just go to school, graduate and ball. but they have graduated now, they are not balling. Some of them are even suffering. Someone has said it's because you have a degree, go for a master. Some people have gone for their master, they are still not mastering anything. So that mindset, that expectation that is being dashed is a product, is what causes the disappointment.
Okay, Dapo, let me continue.
But the solution,
yes,
is that's what causes the disappointment. But the solution is in what the elders say,
Amantogo.
So you have an adoption. You either stay in the disappointment and get depressed, or you pick yourself
find your way out.
Say, okay, where do we go
from here?
From here.
Okay. Now I want to say, graduate of say 10 years back now may not be talking of having any knowledge about entrepreneurial training. But if you graduate 2015 to date, definitely you must have taken one course or the other in entrepreneurial skill. And what I want to see in that curriculum is, we are training you to become a Agric Extension officer. But outside Agric Extension, which area do you have flair for? Do you understand now? That when Agric Extension job is not available, what else can you do? Is that the content? You are just coming out of the school. I think I came out of the university over 30 years now. Do you understand now? That is what I'm thinking. Diversification. You read geography, and there is no job for a geographer anywhere. What else can you do? That's my question now. That goes to the ability to think that you are talking about. But they've been taught something in entrepreneur. Are all schools involved in this? Is it a national policy?
This is where I'm going to come in. Some of policies are very beautiful, but
implementing them,
implementation is an issue. I remember way back while I was in the higher institution, we had an entrepreneurship. We had 2 courses in entrepreneurship in our final year.
Okay, fine.
One in our rain semester, one in the. But the way the course was even approached,
okay,
we didn't learn anything. The reason, the educational system in Nigeria is regurgitative. Garbage in, garbage out. My lecturer would tell you, just give me what I gave you. So the way the course was done, first and foremost, you pick a whole set that is about 5,000, 3,000 to 4,000 students. You ram them in a 1,000-seater hall, and you give them one lecturer without public address system, no opportunity of practicals. So the guy just comes to class and reads the manual.
He knows.
After a while, what will happen is this: the average student will not come again.
Of course.
He will just buy the manual,
go and read on his own,
read for exam,
cram the manual, and reproduce during exams. Because it's something he must have. Now, when we even talk about these things that we are doing, is this entrepreneurship drive that we have now, I have a little challenge with it, is still because we have not done education correctly. Not everybody can run businesses.
Be an entrepreneur.
Not everybody can run businesses.
Everyone can run businesses. So if we cannot make entrepreneurial drive a blanket solution to the deficiency that the educational system has. But if you train people to solve problems, the difference between the educational system here and the educational system outside is that children are noticed in the line of their gifts, right from 3, 4, and they are taught along that
line.
Here, but chemistry is stressful. Engineering is not easy. If I'm going to be, with due respect to tailors, if I'm going to be a tailor, I mean, I shouldn't do the YDX from part 1 to part 4.
Absolutely.
So if a child is gifted along that line, in civilized nations, he goes to a fashion school right from 3 and graduates with a degree in fashion design. By the time he's 21 is already professional in fashion design. The average Nigerian student will first go and do biochemistry, face all the strikes,
the science class,
and at 23,
do some of those tough courses that we have. And at 24, if he's not in a private school, the chances of him graduating at 23 are not even
very sure. It's not sure. It's not sure.
So he graduates around 25, 26.
26.
Then he now starts to find what he can
his
do.
major purpose.
He's already late.
A biochemist, you now see him teaching mathematics in a secondary school.
Or cooking food.
Yeah. We have so many of that. I mean, I've heard so many civil engineers, even in Lagos, and now they own big eateries and all of that. So that is taking us back to you talking about using the curriculum of 19th century or 20th century
for the 21st
century. Because outside the country, we have business schools. If you want to be a business person, we have business schools. If you want to be a fashion person, we have fashion schools. So it means that all of these things, they are still formal education.
Yeah.
You are still learning something. But now, over here, we have now made it like, okay, in the school, outside school, entrepreneurial is outside school. Meanwhile, they are supposed to be in the curriculum. They're also supposed to be together. As this one is going for medical school, this one is also going to fashion school, this one is also going to business school. That's how it should have been.
Let me come in here. Now, sum all this together and look into ASU demand. That the school are not well infrastructured.
Yeah.
That the teachers, let me use teacher now, that they are not well remunerated. You understand now? Because if you are going to the classroom to teach 200, 100 students on an empty stomach, once I tell you, please maintain a perfect silence, and you are still chatting there, I will just look at my watch and say, I have the next 45 minutes to be here. If you listen, you listen. If you don't listen, you don't listen. Why? So, how do you want situation here, coming out of those decades, to be better? As you're saying this, and you promised them 2009, in 2022, let's revisit this matter. And we are saying, oh, we didn't catch that in 2022 budget. We're going to put it in 2023. If we open books, we will see lots of agreement like this. In 2023, are they going to build it into January budget or expenses so that we can hit the ground running from the first day of the year? So are we going to do it? How are we going to come out of this decade? This is my question for you.
Yeah. And this question is quite massive, because the current situation shows that the leadership of the nation, it shows the value.
They're attached
to education.
Oh.
It's not normal that education as a sector is treated like this. It was surprising to me. At the point I was thinking to myself, okay, I don't want to see when this will end. Like you said, these agreements have been made since 2009.
Yes.
And they have not been followed. So the challenge with ASU is, even when you tell ASU that we'll put it in the budget, you cannot expect trust, because you didn't earn trust.
Yeah.
So ASU does not even, I'm not sure ASU believes you. I'm not even sure I believe
the federal government
for saying that, because they've said it severally. Several other things have been said that has not been done. So we need to remember that the drive that we have right now is a product of the massive knowledge drive of the 60s and the 70s, where people had access to education, especially in this part of the world. Knowledge is what builds a society.
But my concern now is people then that have that access to education, to knowledge, are in the salary today, what you enjoy, you give to allow others to enjoy
My
it.
challenge, it appears that they have a different agenda.
How?
It appears, I don't know, I'm not speaking for them, but it just looks to me like they're not focused on education as much as they should. Like it's as though they do not really capture the value of that education. If not, these things, there's the problem of the educational system is not just in is not just in infrastructure.
Of course.
Even from the curriculum, there needs to be overhauling of the curriculum. It's almost about 8 years now that Oracle University has said that our IT curriculum in Nigeria is obsolete.
IT curriculum
In
is
Nigeria,
obsolete.
It's obsolete. Oracle University said that 8 years ago or more.
And nobody's talking about this.
Nobody. So we first need to have a holistic view of our curriculum. Then when you
And what is the research institutes? What are they doing?
I don't know. When you talk about our infrastructure, it just reminds me of cases that we had across our institutions in those days. When we come home, young guys, and we begin to compare notes, you just start laughing. When you talk about the entrepreneurship training and rules, I mean, the class you take, I just remember certain discussions. You know, according to the NUC, every graduate must take a programming course. The question is, which programming language are they teaching? Because while I was in the higher
I love in Yoruba.
they were teaching Kobo and Fortran. Kobo and Fortran was the programming language of the first set of computers. Imagine that you are teaching people Kobo and Fortran in the 21st century. So
You know what my son did? There is this desktop that I have for them. They were still using it there. But I just came back and I said, who removed this? And I said that is supposed not to be here again. Except you want me to be playing game on it. And the games that are available are not even up to date.
compatible because those systems are no longer running. In the time when there's PHP, there's Java, and even now, I'm not even quite correct. There are more advanced programming languages now. If you are teaching people Pascal or you are teaching people Kobo and Fortran, and in my days, that was what most institutions taught. They would tick the box. We've taught computer programming.
Wow.
But the question is, what did they teach? How useful is what you have taught? The question is, what did they teach? That's curriculum. The next question is this: how many schools have standardized computer libraries? If they have libraries institution where the library, we are almost, a whole set is about 4,000, for instance, and the library can only accommodate maybe 50 to 100 per time. You can't teach it. These things are hands-on, they are practical driven. That's why what you'll find out is that, okay, the person that wants to learn it, that doesn't want to die, go and learn outside.
I was
To go and learn outside.
to come to that. Now, looking at how changes have been, I mean, the Japa culture is now clearly in front of us. Of course, it has existed for a long time, but it's now clearly in front of us because students were out of school.
But we have been warned to beware of chiefs, though.
Students were out of school here in Nigeria, and we see that most of them did not go back to school, like you said, not because they are just playing around, but because they have left the country. Now, if this continues, and every future, like the Nigerian government will say, that these are our futures, every future of Nigeria moves to another country, how are we going to move from here? Now, talking about why they are moving, looking at the strength of an average Nigerian child, you can see that even from our birth, we are miraculously given birth. We have our strength in us. Now, even without you going to school, you see an illiterate child. You see that this child is still intelligent, this child is sound, even with the environment they are in, whether literate or illiterate. Now, what happens is that when these people come up and say, oh, this country, I've lost hope in this country cannot help me, they all traveled out of the country. And of course, we are hearing news from there. We are seeing how brilliantly they are performing over there. The engineers, the doctors, name it, entertainment, any industry they are in over there outside the country, they are always in high flying colors. So what exactly is the problem? Because when they are here, they are saying, oh, they are not employable, this and that. But when they just pack 2+2, strive to get out of this country, you see how brilliantly performing they are. So to me, I see this as just the environment that has been provided.
Very correct. Very correct. Does it challenge? This thing is, we used to say that, man, just close your eyes. Go to Ibono, for instance. Don't do this. Pick any child.
Any child.
Take him abroad. In 2 years, he will top his class.
Yes. Yes.
A particular Nigerian child a few years ago went abroad, learnt chess in 1 year. He had not seen a chessboard before. Learnt the game, mastered it in 1 year, and won a national competition. And became a chess master at 9.
9.
A game he mastered in 1 year. And you know, in those places, their own learning is very structured.
Of course.
So imagine that a child just learns in 1 year, and he beats all his contemporaries in a competition, and even people older than him who have learned through structure and graduated through the ranks. So much so that the boy was invited to play chess with Obama, play chess with President Trump. It happened like that. So the problem, you've said it all, the problem is not the capacity of the average Nigerian. The problem is the environment. Is the environment. They have been able to achieve an environment that helps you to maximize your strengths.
Okay. Now let's look at.
Now, before we move forward, she mentioned something that is really salient.
Okay.
The working population of any country is the driver of economic development of that country. It's a really big futuristic problem. If almost everybody in your working population is planning to japa. A friend of mine, we were somewhere in Ibadan, we were having this discussion, and a friend of mine made this statement. He said, every serious Nigerian youth has either traveled out,
or planning to.
is traveling out, or is planning to travel out. If that situation continues, and I must say here that attempts to compel Nigerians to remain here will not work. Because survival, we have gotten to a point that we have kicked into survival mode.
Yeah.
People have gotten to that point where they feel like, anyhow, I guess, Japan.
But let me now call our attention to something. Let's say of the 71% with the ANEC data now, because ANEC said of the total number of people that are registered, 71% of them are youth. Can we adopt that to be 71% of people in the country to be in that age bracket?
No, basically Nigeria is more than 60 to 65% youth.
Okay. Now, of the 60-65, let's say 30 of them, 30% are already out of the country. The remaining 30-35, 15 are planning to or about to. The remaining 15-20, 10 of them are on the streets. By this time, this is how many minutes? This 8 minutes past 7. They are already drunk. You see them with that small bottle, small plastic sachet, and go to any event. You see them there in their number. I look at them at the waiting crisis, as a time bomb, waiting to explode. My fear now is, who will quench the fire when that explosion comes? As early as this time, go to Ibono, go to Ayetoro. 2 days ago, we know what's happened. That is just in a state. On Sunday, hey, my eyes no go see Bateno. I saw a lot of things. I just went out of the stadium to go and buy a bottle of water. What I saw, Dapo, was an embarrassment of my generation. In broad daylight. Before 11, before 12, people are already drunk, as if there was a wedding ceremony in town. It's like I was about falling into a ditch. Now, to bring that into education matter we are discussing now, do we have a future?
The Christian in me is tempted to say, by God's grace.
Jesus that lives in us. Okay. Christ that lives in us.
Yeah.
He's telling us not to do so.
He's tempted me, because that's the only way one will not lose hope in the matter you are describing. It's really grim. And what makes it worse is that it's actually true. What you are describing is the picture. As gory as it sounds, it's the real picture. But I just hope that certain, my hope is that the Japa culture will help us in a way. That after a while, certain people who have gone there and established it, they will come back and attempt to. But
many of them that do not have a certificate to travel abroad, that do not have a skill that they are traveling with.
No, I'm not talking about these ones we are talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about the guys that have gone.
Okay.
That they will come back and contribute
to the society.
To the society. But I wanted to make a point. One of the things that made it as bad as this is that people have lost hope. People have lost access to opportunities. People have lost access to opportunities. People have lost hope. People have gotten to a point where they feel like, young people have got to a point where they are not even afraid to die. Because they don't see the value of life anymore.
Yeah.
That's why you will see a situation like that. That's why you will see that they're asking young people to come and go through the Sahara desert
to get to Europe.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine that. I cannot imagine
that level of frustration
that makes you want to
do that.
It's crazy. But people try it. People have lost hope that much. Now, just suppose this
time is no more on our side. Just provide 1-2 solutions and let's go at this point.
Okay. To profile solution, it's a collective thing. Everyone has roles. Our leaders have the role that they need to give, that they have to play. They need to provide an enabling environment for education.
Okay.
One of the things that I long for the day when our budget allocation to education per year will increase.
Okay, one.
Our budget allocation per year is one of the smallest in the, I don't say the whole world, let me just say in the whole of Africa.
Okay.
So we have that. Then we have the issue of structure. Then we need what I call a social engineering for the young people to begin to go back to seeing the importance of education.
Okay.
And this, I say, is done 2 ways. We need to begin to celebrate education. Whichever virtue you want people to emulate, you celebrate its presence,
okay,
and punish its absence.
Okay.
When a generation grows to see that, okay, so this guy went to school, he paid him off. This person went to school, he paid him off. And more people are going to school and he's paying them off. He would also want to go to school.
Okay.
What we have now is a situation where the average young man looks at him and is saying that, okay, what's the...
Let's stop here today. To our viewers out there, you can see the trend of our discussion this morning. He's saying that you have a role to play and I have a role to play.
Yes, sir.
We all have a role to play. We must come together to salvage this nation out of this bondage we put it. Because it's our collective failure.
True, sir.
And to bring it out is our collective failure. I mean, responsibility as well. Yes. Thank you for coming on the program today.
Thank you so much for coming.
So much appreciation for coming. And to our viewers out there, today's Wednesday. Join us again for another discussion like this on this channel, Osbc TV. Thank you.